Señoras y señores, bienvenidos a mi canal. Es un honor y un privilegio presentarles a una de las voces más importantes de la industria de la música. Ella ha cantado junto a los artistas más destacados del mundo, como la orquesta de Glenn Miller, Pat Benatar, Foreigner, Aretha Franklin, George Benson, Billy Joel, Sting, la gran banda de rock progresivo Pink Floyd. También trabajó para las bandas sonoras de las películas Star Trek, Home Alone 2, American Beauty, entre otras. Cuenta con 2 discos solistas y una gran carrera como docente en Nueva York. So, let me introduce to you one of the greatest singers in the whole universe, Machan Taylor.
Are you sure you have the right person? I don't know.
I know I have the right person, for sure.
Well, thank you so much, Pablo. It's so great to meet you, and it was such a nice surprise to get your email and to connect with you, and yeah, this is lovely.
Yes. So I'm gonna start with the first question. If you can tell us about your beginnings, when did you start singing?
Oh my goodness, I was a child, 8, 9 years old when I started to sing in school and church. I was raised Catholic, but my mother, was Japanese, so she was a singer in Japan. Mm-hmm. So we're going way back. So post World War II, okay. My mother actually was singing American jazz songs.
Great.
So yeah, because of the American occupancy in Japan after World War II, and American movies coming to Japan, my mother fell in love with jazz, American jazz. So she actually sang American jazz songs, and she actually was singing in an officers club in Yokohama in the American Army base. Oh. Which is how she met my father, because my father was in the American military. Wow. So music was part of my childhood. My mother came from a very musical family. Her father was a pianist, classical pianist, and a professor at the University of Tokyo. He taught piano, he taught cello, he directed choirs. One of my uncles was a composer. Another uncle was a saxophone player, and the other one was a pianist. And my mother was a singer, so wow. There was a lot of music coming from that side of the family,
Wow.
And yeah, so I grew up listening to lots of different kinds of music, classical music, jazz music. And then when I became a teenager, I started listening to rock and pop and folk music and all kinds of music. So right. It's been in my life for a very long time. Yeah. What's interesting for me is, I spent 30 some years working as a background singer and touring and doing recording sessions and really making my living as a singer, as a professional working singer. Mm-hmm. And then I sort of had this very big change in my life, 10 years or more ago. But long story short, I ended up going back to school. I went back to university, and I got my bachelor's degree and my master's degree. And
Yeah, I know.
And so I teach at New York University at the Clive Davis Institute of Recorded Music, and also at the New School of Jazz and Contemporary Music. Music is still a big part of my life, and now I feel like I'm with my teaching, I'm passing it forward,
In 1979, you joined the Glenn Miller Orchestra, and you sang there for 2 years. How was your experience singing there?
That was a great education, because I was young. I was 19 years old, 19, 20 years old. And so it was my first touring gig. Okay. And there I was as a young woman on a Greyhound bus with 19 guys, the big band.
Yes.
and you know, traveled all over the United States, and we went to Japan and Europe, and
Wow.
it was a great learning experience. But again, you know, it's sort of rooted, even though the Glenn Miller Orchestra was considered pop music
Mm-hmm.
in back in the day, in the 40s, you know, 50s. It's still very much rooted in jazz
Yes.
arrangement styles and harmonies, and so it's so good, I think, as a singer and a musician to really familiarize yourself with lots of different kinds of music
Yeah.
because you learn that way.
Yes. I think the only way to get your own digital print, the only way to do that is like listening many styles of music, like Latin jazz, heavy metal, rock and roll, blues, and you're gonna find your own self. I mean, your own identity. You know.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it also, you know, it's like reading great books. You know, the more that you read literature, it really helps to inform the way that you think, the way that you see the world, and
Exactly.
then it informs your own writing. And even if it's songwriting, you know, everything that we take in is influencing how we're expressing ourselves as artists. Pat Benatar is fabulous. She's, you know, when I toured with her, it was 1985, I think. I can't
Right.
remember, you know. Um, so it was sort of post her really big time in her career. It was a
Okay.
little bit of the a little bit of a downside in her career, so to say.
Hmm.
Certainly she was singing fantastically, and even then and even now she's still touring and performing. um, so it wasn't a huge tour, it wasn't like Pink Floyd, you know,
Yeah.
at that time. um, but it was a wonderful tour because she's just a lovely person to work with, and her husband, Neil Giraldo, is the guitar player, and they've been together now for many years, and they're lovely people.
Don't you understand me? Come on and please pull yourself together, baby. Come on, do it soon. My Lord, come on and take me out. Be what you make me like oh, baby, you make me feel so good. Let me take you out and go. Let me visit out there. Then maybe there we can find a good place to keep a loving state of mind. Whoa, I'm so tired of being with a lot of love. Knowing what love is all about. James, will you come on in now? You can go now if you want to. Weather. Margaret Taylor.
George Benson, here I go again, back to the jazz.
Yes. Yeah.
Um,
Great guitar player, by the way.
yes, you know, I mean, one of the best, you know, jazz guitar players. But that was interesting because George at that time was very pop. You know, he had pop hits in
Yes.
the 80s, and so this was
He,
sort of
that was the time that he wrote the song "The Greatest Love of All," or
uh, did he write that? I didn't think he wrote that.
yes,
But
he. And then
you're right.
yes, and then
Right. And then
Whitney
Whitney
Houston,
Houston did it later.
Robert
I always
Redford.
I always forget that George's version came first. But yes, but George was writing a little bit more contemporary stuff at that point.
Yes.
And so he had actually some hits that were on the radio at that time period. So he was really big at that time. And so we were doing a lot of European touring, and that was so much fun because
Great.
he's lovely too.
Yeah, is that time that he was playing with the Count Basie Orchestra?
No, I didn't see him then. I wasn't working with him then. This was just his band.
All right.
And I was a percussionist and a singer, background singer.
Great.
Yeah, it was fun. I was playing congas and percussion instruments. So that was a lot of fun.
I didn't know that side of you. That's awesome.
Yeah, I haven't really played much anymore. I don't have no more calluses, so.
Gotta take a little time to think things over. Better read between the lines, in case I need it when I'm older. This mountain I must climb feels like the world upon my shoulder. Through the clouds I see love shine, keeps me warm as life grows colder. In my life there's been heartache and pain. I don't know if I can face it again. I can't stop now. I've traveled so far to change this lonely life. I wanna know what love is. I want you to show me. I wanna feel what love is. Now you can show me. Oh yeah. I gotta take a little time to look around me. I got nowhere left to hide. Looks like love has finally found me. In my life there's been heartache and pain, and I don't know if I can face it again. I can't stop now. I've traveled so far to change this lonely life. Come on. I wanna know what love is. can show me. I wanna know what love is.
Let's talk about
Won't you show me? Oh yeah, feel what love is. And I know you can show me. It's real. Yeah. Love is. Can we talk about it now? We better do something about it now. I wanna feel what love is. And I know you can show me. Oh, I wanna know what love is. And I want you to show me. Oh, I wanna feel what love is. Make me feel. I know you can show me. Show me love is real. Oh, yeah. Real. I wanna know love. Oh, love is real.
And then Foreigner, which was after that. That was a very, very big tour. That was when they had
You played at the Farm Aid, right? The Farm Aid
yes,
show.
yes, we did Farm Aid. We did. It was a year-long tour. It was all over the United States, Europe, Japan. It was all over the world. And their big hit at that time was "I Want to Know What Love Is."
Exactly, yeah.
So that was just iconic. It was, a major piece. And my job on that particular tour was not really a background singer. I was actually the coordinator for the choir
Wow.
that sang on "I Want to Know What Love Is." So
It was
my
a huge choir.
actually every show it was different.
Ah,
Some shows it was a smaller choir.
okay.
Some shows, like at Madison Square Garden, we had like 200 singers.
Wow.
But that was, I know, but that was my job on that particular tour. So, we're talking before the internet was popular. So I had to do all the pre-production,
Okay.
and I had to, a couple months ahead of time, I would have to research, find out where there was a choir in that particular town that we were going to. So every town, I had to find a choir and, send them the music and make all the arrangements. And then
Lot of
the
work.
day of, oh, it was incredible. It was crazy. I don't know how I did it actually. When I look back, it's a miracle that I was able to do it. But so the day of the show, every show, I would meet with the choir in the afternoon. I would rehearse them. We would do a stage rehearsal, musical rehearsal, costume, everything, because we provided the robes,
Okay.
the choir robes.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I
The white
had
ones.
to, yes, exactly. So I had to put all that together in the afternoon and then make sure that they got on stage, for that song in the show. And then that was like the big number.
Yeah. In 1987, you joined Pink Floyd. Can you tell us how you joined the band and how was your experience working for them?
Well, it's interesting, when you're in the music business and you're active and you're involved doing things, a lot of times you get gigs or opportunities come to you by word of mouth. Someone recommends you, and connections, you have all these connections. And the sound engineer who did the Pat Benatar tour recommended me to David Gilmour.
Wow.
So you see how that was the link, So oh my gosh, and of course at this very moment I can't. Oh, Buford Jones, there's his name. Buford Jones, who was a lovely, lovely guy. He ended up doing the house mix, the front of house sound for Pink Floyd for Delicate Sound of Thunder.
Wow.
But he recommended me to David, and before they were putting the tour together, or while they were putting the tour together, Buford recommended me to David. I was living in Los Angeles at the time, and David was there. They were working on mixing the record, and so I met him at I think Ocean Way Studios. That's what I remember, Ocean Way Studio. And I met with him, and we talked, for a little while. But at the end of the conversation, he just said, "So, do you want to go on the road? Do you want to do the gig?" It was that easy. It was that easy. So, yeah, incredible.
How do you feel singing in a stage that had so much technology in it? It was very ahead of time. The whole laser things and the circle screen.
Oh my God, there were, when we rehearsed for the tour, we were in Toronto in a airplane hangar for 1 month.
Yes.
And I'm sure the production crew was most likely there before the band even got there. There was it was such a massive amount of equipment. But I remember when we were rehearsing in the airplane hangar, because I had never done a tour like this.
Yeah.
I remember, just seeing these huge pieces of lighting equipment over our heads.
Yeah, there's one like that, it has an elevator, and it goes up and then goes.
Well, some of them came. Some pieces came out of the floor.
Exactly.
But then there were huge pieces that hung down, and I mean, to see that over your head, you just say your prayers every night. I hope this doesn't.
I was wondering about those machines with lights that were going around. I was thinking, is that safe? It's like.
Well, there's a lot of trust, a lot of faith in the guys that are on the crew, and when you're at that level, everyone on the crew are consummate professionals.
Yes.
And they have to be, because our lives are at stake. Yeah. And theirs too, but when you're standing under that much equipment, it is a little bit scary sometimes, Yeah, it was actually pretty amazing. And then, to maneuver the pig flying and the bed flying through the air and, coming over the audience. I mean, it was incredible what they did, actually.
And then Run Like Hell, you have all the fireworks.
And fireworks every night. Yeah, we had fireworks every single night. Not only for that song, but then that was sort of the end of the show. And then we would leave the stage, and there would be fireworks, outside of the stadium or the arena. And yeah, it was amazing.
How do you feel working with the other girls?
So it started with just the two of us, with Rachel and I. And then we did a filming in Atlanta, Georgia. For the film, they wanted to have a couple more singers.
Yes.
And so that's when we met Durga and Lorelei and Roberta Freeman.
Okay.
Because that was the one show that they did, and so after that, I guess David or the manager or somebody thought, oh well, we should have 3 girls, so that's when Durga joined after
Okay.
that.
No more turning away from the weak and the weary. No more turning away from the coldness inside. Just the world that we all must share. It's not enough just to stand and stare. Is it only a dream that there'll be no more turning away?
Recently, they did Delicate Son of Thunder remasters.
Yeah.
How was your reaction watching that show in HD once again with new
It's
angles and new edition and sound?
beautiful.
It's
It's
amazing.
beautiful. It's amazing. I mean, there were a lot of shots that I'd never seen before. There were
Yeah.
they did a lot of new things, and the sound is much better. They really bumped up the mix,
Okay.
and also the look of the film is
It's
just
incredible.
beautiful.
It looks like it
Yeah,
was filmed yesterday.
amazing what they did. I actually have the box set. They sent me the box set.
Wow, the black
So
one.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's really beautiful. And it's, for me, it's a really lovely piece of memorabilia.
Lots of police in Times Square tonight, and one former member of the police at Studio 8H in New York, NBC Studios at 30 Rockefeller Plaza. Of course, the inimitable Sting. One of his very best songs, Here Now, is what we heard earlier from Sting tonight.
To tell her of the feelings I have for her in my heart. Every time that I come near her, I just lose my nerve as I've done from the start. Every little thing she does is magic. Everything she do just turn me on. Even though my life before was tragic, now my love for her goes on. Do I have to tell that story of 1,000 rainy days since we first met? It's a big enough umbrella, but it's always me that ends up getting wet. Every little thing she does is magic. Everything she do just turn me on. Even though my life before was tragic, now my love for her goes on. Every little thing she does is magic. Everything she do just turn me on. Even though my life before was tragic, now my love for her goes on. I resolve to call her up 1,000 times a day and ask her if she'll marry me in some old-fashioned way. But my silent fears are gripping long before I reach the phone, long before my tongue has tripping. Must I always be alone? Every little thing she does is magic. Everything she do just turn me on. Even though my life before was tragic, now my love for her goes on. Every little thing she does is magic. Everything she do just turn me on. Even though my life before was tragic, now my love for her goes on. Every little thing, 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 every little thing she does, 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 things she does is magic. Yo, 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 yo.
I have another question. When did you start singing for Sting?
That was later, much later. When I moved back to New York, I lived in Los Angeles until 1994, 95.
Okay.
And I came back to New York. This New York area is actually my home.
Okay.
So, so I yeah, 95, I came back. And so I started working in New York a little bit again, doing some sessions, commercials, and things like that. And then 1999, at the end of 99, a friend of mine contacted me who had sung on the Brand New Day record.
Okay.
And what happened was Sting had started touring in September of 1999,
Mm-hmm.
and he started the tour with 3 girls. And he wasn't happy with that situation. He's kind of famous for changing things frequently.
Okay.
So he decided he wanted to do something else. So he called my friend Daryl Tukes, and Daryl ended up calling me because Sting wanted a guy and a girl.
Mm-hmm.
And that was another situation where Daryl, my friend Daryl, brought me in. I met Sting in New York and the tour manager, and we had a conversation, and that was it. And
Okay.
so my first gig with Sting was 1999 New Year's Eve. This is the Millennium New Year's
Wow.
Eve, going
Yeah.
into 2000, right?
Oh, yeah.
So it was a huge show.
I can't imagine.
Yes, and it was televised all over the world.
Yeah, I
It
think
was
I think I saw that. I was 19 years old when I saw that. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was televised all over the world on NBC, and
Mm-hmm.
we were performing at the Saturday Night Live studios, which is Studio 8H, I think, at the
Mm-hmm.
NBC studios in New York at Rockefeller Center. And Daryl and I were just coming in. We had no rehearsal with the band. We had sound check. That was our only opportunity to go through the songs.
Mm-hmm.
And then that night, New Year's Eve, we were being broadcast to millions of people all over the world. And that was my first gig with
Wow.
Sting. So it was
Great.
crazy.
Amazing. Amazing experience. The other question that I have is, when was the year that you decided to record your own material? And what are the memories that you have recording the albums Machan and Motion of Love?
Boy, you really did your homework, didn't you?
I know I did.
You are on it. Yeah, I think, after I finished touring with Sting and I came back to New York, and it was kind of a strange time for me. Actually, I was feeling at that point in my life that I wanted to do my own music, and I wanted to do some different things. I was really kind of tired of being a background singer. I just wanted a change in my life. I was ready for a change.
Very good.
So I really got down to getting back to playing guitar, and I, always loved Brazilian music.
Mhm.
So I got very deeply into studying Brazilian style guitar, and started writing a lot of songs in that style. So those 2 records of mine are very Brazilian music influenced.
One of the last questions is, what are the plans for the future in music and recording and writing?
I'm trying to do some writing on my own, working on, some of my own music, and hope to work that into a new project at some point. But I'm also a university teacher now.
Yes, yes.
So I have to think about September, I go back to school, even though I'm teaching at home, and I'll be teaching on Zoom
Okay.
for the fall semester. But I have to start thinking about preparing for that too. So
Excellent. Great.
I have plenty to do.
Yeah. So it has been a tremendous honor for me doing this interview,
Oh, thank you. For me too.
and a dream come true, because I've been listening to Pink Floyd for many, many, many years, and that your part on The Great Gig in the Sky is my favorite of all. It's like
Oh,
unreal. I mean, those high notes that you do is like amazing, amazing.
oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So it has been a great honor for me, and you know, we keep in touch in the future.
Wonderful. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for finding me and inviting me. And I'll look forward to seeing your
Okay,
finished product and keeping in touch as well. And hopefully see you in Argentina
awesome.
someday.